Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Here, we embrace true femininity. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update.
The day had started off like any other. I was curled up in my room, surrounded by piles of discarded clothes and makeup, my laptop open to countless tabs of cross-dressing forums and videos. I was lost in my own little world, blissfully unaware of the events that were about to unfold. Little did I know, my stepdad, who had recently remarried my mom, had been growing increasingly suspicious about my disappearing clothes and my newfound interest in all things feminine. He had caught me cross-dressing once before, a few months ago, and instead of yelling or getting angry, he had sat me down and had a serious talk with me. He told me that he understood, that it wasn't something I could just stop doing, and that as long as I kept it hidden from everyone else in the family, he wouldn't say anything. But now, I could sense that something was different. The way he was eyeing me, the way he kept finding excuses to come into my room, I could feel the tension building up. I didn't know it then, but my life was about to change forever. As I continued to absent-mindedly scroll through my social media feed, lost in the endless stream of selfies and makeup tutorials, I heard a faint creak coming from the door. My heart stopped as I realized it was my stepdad. He slowly walked into the room, his expression unreadable. "I've been meaning to talk to you about something," he began, his voice low and serious. "And I think it's best if we do this face to face." I swallowed hard, feeling a mixture of fear and dread welling up inside me. "Okay," I managed to say, trying to keep my voice steady. He gestured for me to follow him, and I reluctantly stood up, feeling like a deer in the headlights. As we walked out of my room and into the living room, I couldn't help but notice the way he was holding himself, like he was about to pounce on me at any moment. He sat down on the couch and motioned for me to sit next to him. I did as I was told, feeling even more exposed and vulnerable than ever before. "I've been giving this a lot of thought," he began, "and I've come to the conclusion that you need more discipline in your life." My heart sank as I realized where this was going. "You're not a bad kid," he continued, "but you've been acting out in ways that are disrespectful to your mother and I. And I'm not going to stand for that." I knew what was coming next. I felt it deep in my gut. "So," he said, leaning in closer, "from now on, you're going to be my slave. You'll do everything I tell you to do, when I tell you to do it. And if you disobey me, well, let's just say there will be consequences." My heart raced as I tried to process what he was saying. Was this some sort of twisted joke? A sick form of punishment? Or was it somehow both? I opened my mouth to protest, to try and reason with him, but before I could say a word, he placed a firm hand on my shoulder, silencing me. "And the first thing you're going to do," he said with a menacing grin, "is put on this outfit." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a pair of black lacy panties and a frilly white bra. I felt my cheeks flush red with shame and anger. "I'm not wearing those," I managed to choke out, my voice barely above a whisper. "You can't make me." But even as the words left my mouth, I knew they were hollow. He was in control now, and there was no going back. My stepdad smiled, a cold and calculating expression that sent shivers down my spine. "Oh, but I think you'll find that I can," he said, his voice low and threatening. "Now, why don't you take off your clothes and put these on?" He held up the panties and bra, wiggling them between his fingers like they were some sort of deadly weapon. I felt like I was in a nightmare, unable to move or speak or do anything but obey. Slowly, I undid the buttons on my jeans and slid them down my legs. I kicked off my sneakers, revealing my pale, hairy legs. Next came my shirt, untucking it from my skirt, and then pulling it over my head. I stood there before him, naked and exposed, my heart pounding in my chest. My stepdad took in my body with a lewd gaze, his eyes lingering on my chest, my hips, my legs. Not bad, he murmured, for a boy. The word boy seemed to hang in the air between us, a cruel reminder of everything that had changed. He held out the panties and bra, offering them to me like a sacrament. I reached out and took them, feeling their soft, feminine fabric against my skin. With trembling hands, I slid the panties up my legs and positioned them at my hips. Then, I slipped the bra over my head and fastened it behind my back. The lace felt cool against my skin, a sharp contrast to the heat that was rising up from my face. I looked down at myself in the mirror, unable to believe what I was seeing. The girl staring back at me wasn't me at all. She was someone else entirely. Now, my stepdad said, "It's time for your first assignment." He reached into his pocket again and pulled out a list, handing it to me. I glanced down at the neatly printed words, my heart sinking even further. It was a list of tasks: cleaning the house, cooking dinner, doing laundry, and other chores that I had never been expected to do before. "You have until tomorrow night to complete all of these," he said, his voice firm. "And if you don't, well, let's just say there will be consequences." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his words pressing down on my chest. This was my new life now. My new reality. And there was no going back. With a heavy heart, I took the list and began to skim through the tasks. Cleaning the house, cooking dinner, doing laundry, things that I had never given much thought to before. But now, with my stepdad's words echoing in my ears, they seemed insurmountable. As the day wore on, I found myself dreading each task more and more. Every time I glanced up at the clock, I felt a sickening sense of panic in my stomach. I tried to remind myself that I could always ask for help, that my stepdad wasn't the only person in the world who could do these things. But every time I thought about doing that, the fear of his wrath was like a lead weight around my neck. Finally, when the sun began to set and the house grew dark, I knew it was time to start. I took a deep breath and began to tackle the first item on the list: cleaning the living room. I moved methodically through the room, dusting the shelves, vacuuming the carpet, and wiping down the furniture. The entire time, I could feel my stepdad's gaze boring into the back of my head, as if he were watching my every move. As the night wore on and the tasks grew more daunting, I found myself growing more and more exhausted. My muscles ached, my head pounded, and my eyes felt heavy with exhaustion. But I couldn't stop. I couldn't give in. Not if I wanted to avoid whatever consequences my stepdad had in store for me. Finally, with only a few minutes left until midnight, I finished the last task on the list. I collapsed onto my bed, spent and defeated. I couldn't believe I had actually managed to complete everything. But even as I congratulated myself on a job well done, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Tomorrow, there would be more chores. And the day after that. And the day after that. As I drifted off to sleep, I could feel the lace of my new bra digging into my skin. It was a constant reminder of everything that had changed. Of the person I used to be, and the person I was now. And I couldn't help but wonder if this was really my life now. If I would ever find a way to escape from this twisted game that my stepdad was playing.